This footage is from the earliest recordings from space. As the image distorts and you feel yourself moving away from the planet, a sense of dismay arises, almost as if you're being submerged in a deep pool, moving slowly away from the surface, distancing yourself from what is known, from what is nothing. Although this footage is not spectacular in the world of astronomy, it highlights the sensation of imminent terror that space depicts. Its vast emptiness is not only loneliness, it is suffocating. Seeing the pure, absolute size of the empty space in our universe is so bewildering that I feel as though my throat is twisting. Our simple bodies couldn't even imagine the size and complexity of its creations. And I would be right, because the truth is that space is horrifyingly terrifying. It's only when you compare planet Earth with others that you realize we have a perfect planet. Jupiter, a gas giant, is a planet composed of endless storms. There is no surface on Jupiter. Its immense scale consists of dense, deep gas. You cannot land a probe on Jupiter, as it would fall into the gas for days until it burned up and disintegrated, essentially being torn apart by the air. I'm sure the Great Red Spot, the storm on Jupiter, is nothing new to those watching. A storm that has lasted at least 400 years, and potentially more, a storm that alone spans a distance greater than Earth. Imagine a furious, heavy storm larger than Earth, made of heavy gas, tearing anything nearby. A storm so immense it shames our Earth. Everything we know, love, see, feel, smell, and think exists on planet Earth. And the fact that just one storm on another giant planet puts all our existence to shame is embarrassing. Similar patterns can be seen on Saturn and Neptune, the other two gas giants in our solar system. Worlds of nothing but storms and chemical reactions. Storms that can reach up to 1,600 kilometers per hour. Storms that would tear apart everything we know in seconds. But the terrifying thing is that this is only an example of a planetary theme. Space is chaos. But there are billions more planets, many more, each with its own chaos. The sheer complexity and size of the planets in our galaxy alone make you think of what other monsters lurk in the shadows, reveling in their immense magnitude and chaos daily. What is happening behind the scenes in our universe? The size of some of these planets and the chaos in which they engage is truly spectacular. But if you think the planets are such imposing entities, like a mere laser pointer against the backdrop of our most intense celestial objects, you'll realize you are catastrophically naive. Because ultimately, our largest celestial counterparts shine and behave in such an intensely drastic way that they declare to the universe that they are the definition of power. A star, as we know from our sun, is simply a luminous ball of gas primarily composed of hydrogen and helium, held by its own gravity. Stars are incredible. They shine for eons and create habitable zones for planets to play in. Stars are the reason we are alive as humans. Without our sun, we wouldn't even come close to existing. The sun is incomprehensible, and most stars are incomprehensibly huge, millions of times larger than Earth. Sometimes I feel that numbers don't truly capture how big the sun is. Like, well, who cares, a million times bigger? Yeah, I get it, amazing big Sunday. So I always feel that a visual representation is an appropriate way to show the true scale of these things. This is the Earth compared to the sun. All I felt watching this was fear again. That's all we know and love. A mere speck of matter compared to the sun. Ridiculous sizes like these are what fuel my fear of space. But what if I told you that the sun is incredibly small, ridiculously small, so tiny that it seems like an atom compared to even larger ones? What evoked a sense of hopelessness and fear in my soul is the sun compared to one of the largest stars known in the observable universe, UY Scuti. The sheer, monstrous dimensions of these celestial objects are inconceivable. Seeing the size of our Earth alone compared to something like the sun, and yet the largest object in our solar system is considerably tiny, is yet another statement from the universe that we are nothing. UY Scuti is 325 million kilometers in diameter. Yes, 325 million miles of nothing, but a pool of hot hydrogen and helium of convection and radiation. If you somehow build a suit that allowed you to safely enter this immense star, you would likely feel at some point that the star itself is the new universe. The universe doesn't mess around when it comes to size, because even what you just saw, UY Scuti, is absolutely tiny in comparison to things like TON 618, the largest black hole, or the Quasar S5. It's not even a speck of dust. Trying to conceptualize and explain the size beyond this is utterly useless, as our weak brains cannot give it the justice it truly deserves. If you're enjoying the video, feel free to subscribe so we can reach 10,000 subscribers before the year ends. Thank you very much. But let's move away from size because it's obvious that our universe is immense. And on the other hand, it's also astonishingly beautiful. Although we may not fully understand its scale, I think we can all at least recognize the beauty of the stars we see in our night sky. Everyone has had at least one experience of looking up at night and admiring the stars. But the problem doesn't lie with the stars. Ironically, few people dare to acknowledge the clearly obvious monster right next to them, in front of our eyes at all times. 2.5 million light-years is the distance between our Milky Way galaxy and our closest neighboring galaxy, Andromeda. Let's imagine we want to travel to Andromeda. Light takes 2.5 million years to travel that distance between our galaxies. That scale is unsettling. Is there a stop along the way? There's nothing, just gas and vast empty space. Once you leave the Milky Way, you encounter a dark, cold, vast space of nothing for 2.5 million light-years of darkness. The reason this idea of vast emptiness scares me so much is because of how our brain works. We cannot handle the thought of essentially nothing. The dark spaces between celestial objects are the closest we can experience to nothingness. I'm not just talking about the spaces between galaxies. Even the spaces between stars within galaxies are so vast that they are incomprehensible. Immensity has a certain taste. It's not bitter, it's not sweet. It doesn't actually taste like anything, just fear. It's like the fear of the ocean and the deep drop-offs in the sea. Yet space is much bigger, and the drops never end. It's not so much unknown as it is lonely, because the truth is that space is horribly lonely. Just as with the comparison of the sun to UY Scuti, I want to tell you about a supervoid. This is the Boötes Void, and to give you an idea of its scale, it is 330 million light-years wide, 330 million light-years of essentially nothing. The Boötes Void represents 2% of the entire universe. 2% of the universe is a deep void of nothingness. Fear, dismay, and discomfort are all I feel when imagining the center of such things. What is in that void? Why is it so lonely? That vastness is debilitating. Everything in space is vast, separated by long distances of nothing, distances that we as humans could never dream of crossing, invisible barriers that laugh at us and spit on our dreams of space exploration. And to add even more to the despair of this already bleak fact, everything is moving further away as we speak, because the universe is constantly expanding. And as the universe expands like a balloon, everything in it stretches and moves farther away. At some point, these voids will become so large, and the universe will expand so much that we won't even be able to reach another galaxy, as it will move away too quickly for us to reach it. All we'll have is ourselves, surrounded by an infinite and seemingly expanding void that advises us to stay where we are. But we can beg and ask for mercy from the universe, but it won't stop, and with the passage of billions and trillions of years, the universe will grow and wait. And although the scale of the vast empty space is terrifying in itself, as the universe continues forward without stopping, not only will distances become a problem, but so will everything else. Because with enough time, everything will slowly begin to go out. Stars, black holes, and planets all have a limited amount of energy to burn. Once the universe starts its clock, it doesn't stop and wait, and the true and perfect horror of the universe becomes time. 13 billion years is the age of our universe, and we were lucky to be born in an era of rampant star growth and intense celestial events. We are observing and participating in the first steps of the universe. But unfortunately, it's likely that it will never be this way again. According to the theory of heat death, also known as slow death, the universe will continue to expand. And as it expands, everything will continue to thrive. However, over time, and I mean a long time, the raw materials needed to create stars, black holes, and everything else will run out, spreading into cold, wide areas of empty space where the formation of hot, dense stars is not possible. And when the universe reaches this point, it will face an inevitable demise where star formation will end, and it will have to face the intense reality that it will meet a cold and dark death. But this will take a long time, right? Yes, a very long time. Some say it will take 10 to the power of 40 years, so we don't have to worry too much about it. But this does raise a very difficult question. We now know that the universe is expanding and that, when it dies, it will do so alone. However, we have no idea why the universe is expanding. We only know that it does so rapidly, more than expected. Science has a theory for this phenomenon called dark energy. Dark energy is one of the universe's greatest mysteries. Scientists believe it makes up roughly 68% of the universe, yet we have no real understanding of what it is or why it exists. All we know is that this invisible force is causing the universe to expand at an accelerating rate, stretching galaxies further apart, and in doing so, gradually isolating them. Over time, galaxies outside our local group will recede from view, leaving our cosmic neighborhood alone in a vast, dark void. This brings up an eerie thought. If intelligent life were to evolve billions of years from now, they may look up at the night sky and see nothing. Without the sight of distant galaxies, they might never know that the universe once teemed with countless galaxies and cosmic wonders. They could be alone in a seemingly empty cosmos, unaware of the vast universe beyond. And then there are black holes, the ultimate cosmic erasers. Consider subscribing to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Your support makes it possible to keep creating content that explores our place in this vast and mysterious cosmos.